Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this my second to the last meeting of the El Centro City Council to order, not that I'm counting. At this time, if we could all please, we could have a roll call by the clerk, please.
Here. Present.
Here.
Present.
Here.
Could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you on this very special day, Election Day, celebrating our country and the ability that we have to freely cast ballots, to elect representatives who are mindful of the needs of their communities and who are committed to public service. I am so grateful for the opportunity to serve on this City Council and to serve with such fine examples of all that's right in our community. I'm thankful for so many things that you have provided to this community and the leadership that's been elected to lead. May we be ever mindful of our many blessings. May we truly live a life of gratitude for the many things that we enjoy. May we give pause at every opportunity to help someone who needs an encouraging word or a helping hand. These things we pray in thy precious name. Amen. Amen. At this time, we would ask our city attorney, Ms. Chris Becker, to report out on our closed session meetings.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I need to also finish the report from the October 21st meeting, because if the council will remember, we adjourned back into closed session after that open session. So I apologize to everyone. It's going to be a long one. On a motion by Councilmember Silva, second by Councilmember Jackson, the City Council moved to adjourn back into closed session after the open session meeting. Closed session adjourned at 6:15 and resumed at 7:26 p.m. Reports were given to the Council about the two items listed under the City to Initiate Litigation portion of the anticipated litigation section of the agenda. There is no final action to report. The direction was given to staff. Community Development Director Norma Diaconia participated in both of the reports. There was an added item to closed session as the need to take action could not reasonably wait until the next regularly scheduled meeting. Moved by Councilmember Jackson, seconded by Councilmember Silva to add the anticipated litigation / city to initiate litigation item to the closed session agenda. The motion carried unanimously. The report was given by staff in regard to the added item with no final action to report, but direction given to staff. Community Development Director Norma Diaconia participated in the report. Reports were given to the Council about the two items listed under the significant exposure to litigation portion of the anticipated litigation section of the agenda. There is no final action to report, but direction was given to staff. Community Development Director Norma Diaconia participated in one of the reports. Reports were given to the Council about the two pending litigation cases listed on the agenda. There is no final action to report, but direction was given to staff. Council considered the performance evaluations of the City Manager and the City Attorney. The City Manager and the City Attorney excused themselves from this discussion at 9:02 p.m. Closed session concluded at 9:30 p.m. And for today's meeting, on a motion by Councilmember Jackson, seconded by Councilmember Cardenas, the City Council met in closed session at 11:32 a.m. All council members were present except Mayor Villegas-Walker, with Councilmember Sanders arriving at 12:39 p.m. A report was given to Council on the anticipated litigation item, and direction was given to staff with no final action to report. Council met with its labor relations negotiators, Ruben Duran, City Manager, and Terry Brownlee, Human Resources Director, concerning labor matters. The City Manager's compensation resolution is coming out of closed session for approval, and the City Manager did excuse himself from the room while it was being discussed. On a motion by Councilmember Jackson, seconded by Councilmember Cardenas, the Council gave direction to its labor negotiators relating to all directors, unrepresented, and represented groups listed on the agenda. The motion carried 4-0 with Mayor Villegas-Walker absent, and closed session concluded at 12:51 p.m. Concludes my reports.
Any changes, modifications, or comments? If not, we'll accept the report as presented. Thank you, Ms. Becker. We are going to take one item out of order. We are moving to new business item number 10, as Ms. Katie has another meeting to get to. I would ask that Mayor Pro Tem Efrain Silva please introduce the item.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A few weeks ago, I was very honored and privileged to ask to attend a meeting in Brawley that all I knew at the time that it was some initiative that had to do with cancer awareness, and personally having been suffered by the death of a dear one through cancer, I really wanted to go and find out what the initiative was about. And I have to say that two wonderful things happened at the meeting. One is I was exposed and I was asked to bring to council the resolution that's in front of you. It's an initiative that is pushing for a cure of breast cancer by the year 2020. And a lot of very eye-opening statistics were given to us that Ms. Katie will talk about to us right now, but that was very eye-opening and a wonderful initiative that I'm fully behind of. So that was one great thing that happened. The second thing is that I met this wonderful woman that is going to present to us, who I did not know before. And I tell you what, I'm so impressed with the job and her sensitivity and her care that she has for our community and for women, men and women that are impacted by breast cancer, and the initiative that she's carrying forward. So I was very, very proud and happy to meet her. So I'd like to introduce Linda Katie, who will give us more evidence and will actually present the resolution that we're are wanting to approve today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And on behalf of Between Women and the women we serve daily, I want to thank everyone that's present for their continued support. I do have a couple of packets that I can slide. Hopefully by the end of this very short little presentation, I can achieve one additional endorsement. And this endorsement will cost no money. Some of you in this room know me, and some of you that may not, you will soon learn of my passion when it comes to women being diagnosed with breast cancer. My name is Linda Katie, and I am the founder and executive director of Between Women. But first and foremost, I am also a 19-year breast cancer survivor. I am also a member of the National Breast Cancer Coalition since 2000, and Between Women has been an organization member since 2001. Over the past 14 years, I have met some amazing, beautiful, fun, smart, and very visionary women through this coalition across the United States with my years of experience and partnerships with them. There are a minimum of 600 additional organizations that make up this coalition in the United States, and there are also 14 additional countries globally that come to these meetings on a minimum basis of once a year. I have watched breast cancer rob my friendships of these women. Yes, they have died from this insidious disease. Actually, I've witnessed the same thing here in Imperial County with dear, beautiful friends that have succumbed to this disease. When will we see an end to breast cancer? That seems to be a question that I hear predominantly. And the partnerships with the National Breast Cancer Coalition has been everything that I could have ever dreamed of. The National Breast Cancer Coalition in September 2010, stood on a platform in Washington, D.C. and announced that January 1, 2020 would be the deadline, and we would know how to end breast cancer. And when I first heard that, I thought, oh my gosh, how can that be? It is. It's a very profound declaration. May of this year, during the annual advocacy conference, Grace Gallardo and I were challenged to raise the bar in our own communities. We were challenged to raise our voices and to gather public and organizational endorsements from the community-minded leaders, be it public officials, medical centers, organizations that would commit and agree with the Breast Cancer Deadline 2020 goal. June this year, Grace and myself and 3 additional committee members met weekly and very strategically planned our first community forum, which was held on September the 9th. And that is where I also met Mr. Silva. And we met on the campus of Pioneers Hospital, and there were 30 other community-minded members that were invited that evening. We had a couple of mayors, we had chief of police, and several community members of clubs' preferences. We had breast cancer survivors and family supporters. During that 1-hour presentation, they viewed 2 short videos so that they could see the full scope and the magnitude of what the breast cancer deadline would accomplish and what it meant to be an endorser. This is why I'm before you this evening. I want to take back to Washington, D.C. in January an endorsement from the city of El Centro that you will commit to speaking about the deadline. And inside the notebooks that I did provide, there are statistics, startling statistics about breast cancer, and we're making incremental change, and that has to stop. And that is why we have set a deadline. And do I believe that we can meet this deadline? 200%, I believe it. I have also been given the privilege of having profound science and the biology behind breast cancer courses offered to me, and I took them, and that has earned me a seat on the Department of Defense Breast Cancer Research Funding Mechanism. And my vote, ladies and gentlemen, counts the same as the scientists that are sitting side by side on my sides. And they do not like it when I say no to a particular grant. And they say, how can you say no? And I say no, because this is incremental change, and too many women are dying of this disease. And until you can influence me differently, my vote stands. It's very intimidating when they're the scientists, but it's even more profound when I understand what the grants are entailing and what they mean. And there are too many women dying of this disease. So I hope that I can count on the city of El Centro. The city of Brawley has already signed on, as well as 30 other organizations and public officials. But inside your packet, you will see, before September the 9th, Between Women is the only organization in Imperial County that is being recognized. And that's why I'm before you, so we can change that and add the city of El Centro. Along with this endorsement, Between Women has stepped it up, and we have said that we will make a public announcement in the Ivy Press, and we will list everyone's name, be it an individual, be it a community such as El Centro, be it Brawley, medical facilities. Those names will be listed. And on top of it, it will say, is your name on this list? And if it isn't, shame on you. I believe in this commitment, and I hope that you will join me in the commitment. Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Ms. Katie. Are there any questions, comments?
I have no questions, but certainly Ms. Katie know that this is not new for some of us. Some of us join you in being a survivor of breast cancer. And those of us who do recognize that long before, there was Betty Ford, First Lady Betty Ford, who came out, if you will, and acknowledged that and began to speak about the issue and the importance of early detection and try to encourage women to go forward and actually get that early detection examination and do the self-examination. Many of the things that we have learned over the years were considered taboo to speak about in public. But for those of us who are survivors, we now know that nothing is taboo. And I say I raise my hand, I raise my heart, and I raise my voice to all of the things that would go about trying to enlist those who will join you in making this become a reality in 2020.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You know, I just had an informational comment. In terms of the breast cancer, are our rates in terms of our community, are they traditionally higher than national averages, or where does our community and our county rank in terms, and I'm not sure if you have that information, but for some reason I believe that they may be higher than national average.
Inside your packet, you will see that statistically here in the United States, it's 1 in every 8 women. Statistically, breast cancer becomes more prominent at the age of 40, but the statistics really lean towards women that are in their 50s and 60s for a breast cancer diagnosis. But does that make the difference? No. We need to end this disease, and that's the proclamation that I bring before you.
Okay, thank you. And I also just want to thank Mayor Pro Tem Silva for bringing you to our council meeting, and I appreciate the awareness and the initiative on the part of our Mayor Pro Tem Silva as well. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think anytime we can get involved, I think probably everybody here today has been touched by a friend or family member. You know, I lost my father to cancer. My grandmother was a longtime breast cancer survivor. So it's something that's very passionate for me, and something that I think it's very important that we get behind, and I believe that the council will, and I stand with the rest of my colleagues that if we can meet a deadline of 2020, that's just an amazing date, and it'll save a lot of lives. So I thank you for your support and your energy on taking on such a great task.
Thank you.
Ms. Katie, I want to thank you for being here. I had dinner with a business associate last night who's never been to the Imperial Valley. And he said, tell me about your community. So I gave him what you'd find probably in Wikipedia. This is how big we are, we're agricultural based. I said, but the one thing I love most about living in Imperial Valley, the one thing I love most about living in El Centro is that every single person has an opportunity to make a difference. And I think that is what is so, I feel so much gratitude to you for making such a difference in this community, and I thank you for that. And with that, I would ask support of resolution number 14-94, a resolution.
If I could add one tiny thing.
Yes.
Sometimes I don't remember everything. November the 13th is our next community forum. It will be at Pinehurst Hospital. It will be for 1 hour only. And I would like to invite any of the City Council to come and join us at that meeting.
Thank you.
What time?
And it's at 5:45 to 6:45. We will start on time and end on time. As Mr. Silva found out, I went a few minutes over and I just kind of panicked, and they said, don't worry about it. So I was able to breathe and be thankful. But I will add one tiny note, which did come out during the meeting, our first one. This breast cancer deadline 2020 is the only agenda that you will be endorsing. You will not be endorsing anything on the National Breast Cancer Coalition, who have many agendas, but this is it. Okay. That's it. It's nothing between women. It's just the agenda item of the breast cancer deadline 2020.
So with that, I'd look to council action on adoption of resolution 14-94, resolution of City Council, City of El Centro in support of breast cancer deadline 2020.
So moved.
Have a motion by Mr. Silva, second by Mr. Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
We will return with our scheduled public comments. First, the report by the El Centro Chamber of Commerce, followed by a report from El Centro Regional Medical Center on their annual report. So Mr. Les Smith, please.
Good evening, and thank you, Mayor Walker. The El Centro Chamber had a rather busy October in that there were 9 ribbon cuttings just in the month of October, which it's been a long, long time, I think, since anybody's seen that. And that should be very encouraging to everyone. 7 new businesses and 2 that were remodel reopens, so that's very encouraging. We're getting ready to start promoting the Air Show Gala, which will be February 7th at NEF El Centro, as it has been in the past. But we're bringing back this year for the ladies, a fashion show, and that will be November 24th at Desert Trails RV Park at Ryerson Hall. And it'll be all of the latest fashions for the ladies to go enjoy shopping and what have you. So we're excited about that, hoping that it will help promote the entire event a little bit more. The annual Christmas parade is coming up December 6th. I believe we have everything in order with the city, permit-wise, and are well organized that way, and have been receiving a lot of entries. So we're encouraged about that. And then we have a meeting next Wednesday morning at Fire Station number 3. It's our first real planning meet. We had a kind of a strategy brainstorming about the snowbird breakfast, but we'll have our first meeting beginning to work out the logistics and how it's all going to go. So, and then one last thing, I'd just like to thank the police department for their help at the Chamber of Commerce with the homeless issues. It's not over, but it seems to be improving. So we're very grateful for the help that you guys have all given us with helping that problem out for the staff.
I'll have to say that I really appreciated all of the ribbon cuttings, because that was my excuse to Steve Walker that I needed a new outfit, because heaven forbid I appear in 9 photographs with wearing the same old thing. So you have been busy, and we just celebrate every success that the Chamber has and the support that you give for our small businesses and everyone else that's here. Thank you. Comment?
Thank you.
No comments. No. Congratulations on the ribbon cuttings.
Thank you.
No comments. Just congratulations. It's good to see that our local economy is maybe bouncing back a little and businesses getting better. So, good to see.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Les.
At this time, we'd like to move forward with the presentation of the El Centro Regional Medical Center Annual Report for 2014. We have 2 of our stellar staff members from the hospital. Great to see you both.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Villegas Walker and council members. I'm Tomas Rehan, the interim CEO for El Centro Regional Medical Center. And I'm here tonight to share with you the hospital's annual report, which you received in your council packet. I would like to highlight a few things for you that speak to the successful year that we had. On page 31, you'll see that we, once again, are accredited by the Joint Commission accreditation. We got the gold seal of approval, just like we have for the past many years, which speaks highly to the quality that we believe our patients deserve. Our information system department has dedicated thousands of hours to ensure readiness for meaningful use. And just in the last several months, we've launched multiple programs such as computerized physician order entry, a patient portal so that patients have access to their medical record from home, and a passport program which will help with scheduling from doctor's offices in the future from patients' homes, hopefully. In our constant effort to provide excellent patient care, several working groups were created over the last year. Some of these groups are to empower nursing and a lot of the staff that work at the hospital. Some of these groups are clinical practice councils, which do research and improve the way they deliver care. The outpatient clinics have grown tremendously. Our outpatient numbers while our inpatient numbers are decreasing, our clinic volume for the outpatients is increasing dramatically. Collectively, our 2 rural health clinics had 56,842 visits for the year, which was an increase of 11.4 over the previous years. Collectively had just shy of 25,000 visits with just 12 or 13 exam rooms, while El Centro had close to 31,000 visits. Over the last year, we launched pediatric service and women's services to our clinics, which has helped to that volume increase. Now I'd like to share with you some of the financial facts as well. Our excess revenue over expenses was $5.3 million, or 4.2%, placing our ECRMC in the top quartile of like-sized California hospitals. Days of cash on hand remained strong at 104.7 days. Admissions were down 13.2% from the prior year. Total acute patient days decreased by 9.7%. And our outpatient visits, as noted earlier, remained strong, but the emergency room saw almost 50,000 patients, which is an increase of 3.2 over the previous year. So we're gaining a little bit of market share. Last year, ECRMC launched the Clinical Documentation Integrity Program. This program uses registered nurses who work closely with providers to ensure quality clinical documentation. ECRMC, like hospitals throughout the nation, is now preparing for the implementation of ICD-10, a disease classification system that much of the rest of the world has been using for a while. To give you a scope of what the change will look like, our coders now use a system of 14,567 diagnostic codes. ICD-10 diagnostic codes number 69,832. There's more. Coders now use 3,882 procedural codes. After ICD-10 is launched next year, they will be using 71,924 codes. A number of our coders have been certified in the new system, and others will be shortly. Our CFO has done a tremendous job putting a team together that has us right up to date on the latest on ICD-10, and we'll be ready to embrace this as it comes. The copy of our annual report you received is not the most recent version. After it was sent to you, there was a change in the nurse and the chief nursing officer, so you'll get the final version, which will have Oscar Garcia as the interim chief nursing officer. And the beautiful report that you received was put together by Kathy Kennerson, who's our chief strategic development officer. And now, instead of keep talking about the report, do you have any questions?
Thank you. I think I'll start at this end for questions. Mr. Jackson, any comments, questions?
I guess just to follow up when Mr. Wells was here last meeting, I asked about cash on hand and days of operation. I think I heard you say 104.7 days, and that's a increase over what we had from last year and and it's been trending upward. Is that?
Yes. Yes.
And then the 4.2%, you said that puts us in the upper percentile of all hospitals in California?
The upper quartile, yes.
Wow, very good. I commend you and your staff and in the hospital board in getting us to that point. It's very, very promising.
Thank you.
Mr. Silva, as the council's representative to the hospital board?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, the hospital board also reviewed the report at our last meeting and forward that to the council, and I have to echo Mr. Jackson's comments, and specifically with Tomas as our interim CEO and what he has been able to accomplish in how long have you been the CEO, Tomas? 4 or 5 months, maybe?
Yeah, blink of an eye, about 4 months.
Yeah, and bringing the team together and drastic improvements in terms of the communication, the environment, technology, and Tomas always makes it a point to credit his team and the efforts and improvements that we are seeing at the hospital. So we should be very proud. I think our financials look very healthy, and they continue to get healthier. And so I'm very, very proud and happy to present this on behalf of the hospital board as well.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Carter.
Yeah, just in regards to, again, I echo all the comments as well, but specifically I wanted to highlight the employee engagement. And I see some very significant numbers in terms of employees and, participating and being engaged. And I look at the overall survey response rates, and I see a substantial increase from 2013 from 50% to 62%. I'm just curious to see do you have pixie dust, or what's really happening over there that's resulted in a substantial increase in employee engagement?
Well, it's really a credit to the team. What we've done over the last several months, we launched multiple committees. We launched a culture change committee, which we met with our staff, the employees at large, and said, what is the kind of culture you want to have at El Centro Regional Medical Center? Mm-hmm. And words such as compassion, teamwork, bringing the passion back, and how do we get back vocation, because it seems to have been lost along the way. In our many teams that we have over 200 employees that make up those teams out of 950 total bodies. So the staff have really done a tremendous job. My team members have been tremendous with it, but the staff have really embraced this change, and they're the ones driving it. It's our attempt to go organic.
Yeah. Well, it's a testament to your leadership, and I congratulate you on that and your successes and look forward to hearing more about it.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wish to congratulate Mr. How do you pronounce that last name again for me more correctly before I mispronounce it, please?
Virgen.
Virgen. And certainly we want to thank you, your team, for the heavy lifting. We've seen the change in the last 120 days, and I think you're to be commended for that.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment on pages 28 and 29, which is, page 28 is devoted to the Imperial Valley Child Asthma Program, and hospital is extraordinarily fortunate to have such a dynamo behind that program, and I know that she works very, very hard to keep us all informed. I think there's an event coming up next Thursday, actually. Is it the 13th? At Southwest High School. So again, I think that's a phenomenal program, much needed here. Did we have a page on diabetes? Are we still?
We're still doing some diabetes at the Calexico Clinic.
Okay.
Guadalupe Herrera, she's our director of the clinic, and she does still diabetic teaching.
Okay, very good. And with regard to page 29, fellow council members commented on employee engagement, the financials, and all of that. I think another thing that needs to be highlighted is the amount of community outreach done by you and your staff. And I think that this one page just has to represent thousands upon thousands of hours of access, improved access, and educational opportunities to our community. And that, to me, is invaluable information, invaluable activities that your staff is providing, and I just wanted to thank you for that. And I think that if there are no additional questions, we'll thank you for your presentation. And Ms. Kennerson, always a little slice of heaven to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll move on now to the consent agenda. We have items 3 through 9. Is there any member of council that would like to pull an item? We have request to pull item number 7. Anything else? If not, I'd ask for approval of items 3 through 6, 8, and 9.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Cardenas, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Jackson requested that item number 7 be pulled.
Yes, Madam Mayor, thank you. Mr. Hagan, I just had a quick question, and I was reviewing some numbers late this afternoon. Could you explain the dollar, and I don't know if something was left out of, we have one proposal that's significantly lower. The other 3 seem to be in a certain range, but is there something that I'm missing, or did the company Dynamic leave something out? Because their bid was just shy of 60,000, where everybody else was between 92 and 106.
Mr. Jackson, are you, just for clarification, you're referring to the last page of the...
Correct,
of
yes.
the council agenda?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the last page of the page, was it 7E, or page 143 of the packet?
Well, when we go through the evaluation process, we initially look at the proposals. We invited everyone to do the interviews. We went through the interview process. We're on the interview panel. We do not look at the cost proposals. They're not opened at all. They're submitted separately, closed. So we go through the interview process. We rate the different consulting firms. Dynamic was third. Whole Group was first. Then we negotiate with the whole group, and at that point, we do look at the costs, and we negotiated the whole group. I believe it was around $10,000 less, or it's quite a bit less. And that's the process we have to follow. And again, this is, grant money, and we have to go through that process.
Okay. So, and just to clarify something for myself is, because it's grant funded, then we don't have the ability to use the local preference and.
We did use local preference. That was part of the grading, yes.
Okay.
Whole group is local as well.
Yeah, no, I know, and I'm happy to see that the company selected was local. I was just looking at the disparity of cost and wondering how that plays into the overall selection. You know, we've got about a $30,000 difference.
And I think, if I could piggyback on your question, please, Mr. Jackson,
Sure.
it looks like the bulk of that, Mr. Hagan, is in improvement plans, where the Holt Group came in, and for that particular component, their bid is a little over $50,000. Improvement plans for dynamic consultant at $15,000. That's where your $35,000
Correct.
cost differential is. Can you explain perhaps why the Holt Groups is so much higher? I mean, there's a significant cost differential there between $15,000 and $50,000.
Again, it's the process we follow. We have to go through and, without looking at the cost proposals, rate each proposal, each interviewer, each consultant, and then we sit down and go through this negotiation process of doing these. I would have to have some time to go back and look at the breakdown of each cost proposal, but that's the standard process you go through, though. It's not based on cost. It's based on the capabilities, how they presented their plan to do the design, their approach, that type of thing.
So I know in some circumstances, as far as bids go, once you rank, and I understand the cost part being kept separate and unaware to the panel during the evaluation, but once the top three are selected, do we have the ability to then, after the top three are selected, then we see the cost, do you have the ability to pick any of those three? Or do you have to start negotiating with number one and try to maybe bring that cost to some kind of a happy medium? And if you can't negotiate with that person, then you go number two and then number three, or?
You described it perfectly. We start with number one, negotiate with them, we look at the other costs. They of course lowered their costs somewhat, reached, we think, an agreeable amount.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hay. I apologize for not getting this question to you earlier. I didn't see it till after 4:30 this afternoon.
Thank you.
So.
I would ask Mr. Hagan if we could have a follow-up, but we are going to take action this evening with regard to this contract, but a follow-up question perhaps in an email. If there is additional detail that you could provide to the council, because if we look at the other two bidders, they as well are significantly above what Dynamic Consultant had estimated for their improvement plans. So maybe a little bit more granular discussion as to why there was that particular component they bid so low.
Okay.
Or maybe
I'll do that.
Why the whole groups is so high.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I'd return to council and look for action on consent agenda item number 7.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Sanders, second by Jackson. Jackson to approve item 7. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that item passes 5 0. Right, at this time, we will move on to agenda item number 11. Ms. Piedra?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Item number 11 relates to a request from staff regarding the proposed demolition of what's currently vacant, where we used to have our public library located on State Street. As you know, back in 2010, on April 4th, when we unfortunately experienced that 7.2 magnitude earthquake, our library sustained some damage, and since then we have not occupied that building. In an effort to try to determine whether the building could be used for future use by the public library, we did go out and did 2 reports by engineers to determine whether the library building could be repaired and occupied. As pointed out in the report, we did get the investigation reports from 2 engineering firms that indicated that even if we were to do any kind of improvement, it would not meet code. And therefore, the recommendation was to perhaps consider alternative purposes for the future use of the public library. As you know, we have been operating and leasing a site on Imperial Avenue. The building on State Street has been vacant. Obviously, you've seen that it has deteriorated in condition. And given that at this time, we currently don't have the funds to be able to build at the site, we are recommending that we consider demolishing that building in order to be able to take care of the issue that we have as far as the condition of the building. We are currently working on preparing a request for qualifications to conduct a needs assessment. That study has been budgeted and it's currently in our budget to be conducted, and we have drafted that RFQ. We are going to be presenting it and discussing it with members of the task force that are looking at the new library, which we are scheduled to present to this committee by this month and hopefully finalize that RFQ and release it to solicit consultants to come in and look at what our needs are in terms of library facility. With the request of considering the demolition, we are also asking for you to consider a budget amendment of $700,000 to complete this demolition. And basically, this is an estimate based on just estimates that staff has procured in terms of demolishing that building. If there's any questions at this time regarding this item, I would certainly respond to those. We did request and seek the input from the Community Services Commission and also the Library Board, and they concur with the recommendation with staff to demolish the building. They are asking that as we move throughout the needs assessment study that we consider the site for potentially the new building.
Start with questions at this end. Ms. Sanders?
Madam Mayor, I have no questions. As you recall, this was something that came up several years back, 2010. At the time, we were doing the downtown revitalization, and we were hopeful that this library could be, I'm going to say, rebuilt or sustained. Unfortunately, that does not seem to be the case. While it brings a sense of sadness, because this is the facility that I attended when I was a child, so it brings back those nostalgic memories, but nonetheless, it's a building that is no longer able to be used, so its value has been diminished. Consequently, I would concur with staff's recommendation that we have to demolish. Perhaps, though, the site could be considered a future site for a facility to be placed on. I really think that this would assist in the downtown revitalization. It would be an infill project, and I think it would have great value.
Thank you. Mr. President.
You know, I have to echo Councilmember Sanders' comments as well. It has a lot of emotional value, and I was hoping maybe there was a little bit more historical significance to the building, but you know, kind of is what it is, and I am in support of staff's recommendation.
Same thing. I think it's really an iconic building that we are unfortunately going to be losing, but that's the reality of where we are today, and so also we'll be supporting the motion.
Yeah, I think like many of us, that library is where we all kind of grew up, and I certainly learned how to read there and spent a lot of time in that library, but unfortunately it is in the shape that it is in. Just one question on the funding source, coming from the general fund, but specifically?
That's the determination that's going to be made by our finance director.
Okay, so that will come.
It is general fund.
Will that come back to us, or we'll just be reported out as far as where that will come from?
She'll report out during her
All right,
report.
thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Ms. Piedra. The estimate for the $500,000 to $700,000, does that include the request for proposals for demolitions? I mean, this is everything.
It's basically everything, and a part of this, we already know that there is the presence of lead and asbestos. As you recall, prior to the earthquake, we had set aside redevelopment funds with our 2007 bond issue that we did. And in preparation for that, we actually tested the building, and it came back positive. So part of that cost is going to require that. And when you do that kind of abatement, it's pretty costly. So that's why you see that significant number.
I just wanted to confirm that that was the all-in number, the $500,000 to $700,000. That's for all of the reports. That's for complete demolition.
Yes, that's basically what
testing,
we're
everything.
estimating.
Okay.
And that's what we're giving you, that range, and we're giving you the highest. Hopefully, if it's less, then it'll be less.
What, if anything, remains inside the library? I remember probably, Ms. Sanders, was it 10,
Yes.
15 years ago, we received a significant grant for the children's library at that location. And what, if anything, remains? Is there anything that's there that's salvageable?
Well, I know that we basically have relocated the majority of our book collection to the existing location. There is some items that some departments, have inside the library building. Obviously, as we move forward, we need to consider the use and whether or not items that are there can be used, whether it's for library purpose or any other department use. So we're going to obviously go through that, just looking at everything we have inside the building, but there's still some items that remain in there.
Is the building safe to walk through?
We do have walked in there, but it's just not safe to occupy.
Not safe to occupy,
That's
but I'm
correct.
wondering, is it safe to walk through?
I'll tell you, Mayor, if I may, we do not recommend
A walkthrough.
a walkthrough on the old section. Children's Library, that's where the items that are being stored. The concern that the Children's Library has is the old library would pull over to it. So we go in there very quickly. We had the people come back out. So we really don't have folks go in there unless they absolutely have to do that.
So
Again, we don't know when the next earthquake's coming.
True, but I was thinking that maybe if we all wanted to, one last walkthrough and for a, $10, $15 fee to go to the next library building fund, if it was safe enough for us to walk through and say our goodbyes,
Our building official would, I don't believe.
not going to happen. Or our insurance, our JPIA folks would probably frown on that as well. I do agree that if there was a possibility to use that as a catalyst for downtown for another library development, I would like to see that happen. I think it's a fantastic location to support in our downtown. So let's keep it at the top of the list as we're
Yes.
looking at sites. With that, I will return to council and look for a motion to approve the El Centro Library demolition, sob, cry, and budget amendment of $700,000.
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Sanders, second by Silva. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5 with no one opposed. Thank you, Ms. Piedra. Took 7 minutes and you spent $700,000. You make me a little nervous. Is the next one yours as well?
Next one is mine too. It's
Oh,
related
man.
to
The
our-
$1.4 million woman tonight. Okay, we're ready.
The next item relates to a resolution. Let me just get through my items here. And it's actually requesting additional funding also, but for a very significant project that our community has been waiting for quite some time, and that's the skate park project on Adams Park. As you know, back in 2010, the city received some funding, $2.5 million from Proposition 84 money to construct a skate park. We, as indicated in the report, we did send it out to bid, and unfortunately, it came basically above our funding capability, so we had to go back and redesign. The first item, and actually we have a companion item, which actually, in fact, awards the project, but the first request before you is to approve that additional funding in order for us to be able to award the bid. So the request before the council is to provide the additional funding in the amount of $693,000 and to also authorize the waiving of building permit fees in the amount of approximately $18,504. As included in the report presented in the fiscal impact, we did receive $2.5 million. However, we have expended funds already as the project has been designed. We are paying our construction management company that we've hired to assist us throughout this process. And of course, there's other required expenses that we need in order to make sure that we complete this project, along with some required state fees that we have to pay. Therefore, at this time, we do have a shortfall in the project in order to be able to award it to the company that we are recommending that construct this project. If there's any questions, which I'll elaborate a little bit more on as far as the bid award, but this first request is to authorize the additional funds and waive the fees.
Yeah, question. Marcelo, I had a question, and I couldn't remember, when we put it out to bid the first time, I think most of the bids were roughly about $1 million over budget. Is that where we were?
Yes.
So I guess my question is that we've gone through the process, we've gone out to bid, we've substantially downsized the overall size of the skate park, and only to the tune of $300,000 savings?
Basically, as indicated in the, I guess roughly that I would probably summarize as that's the savings that we have.
So I guess my question is if we were going to be over budget by that amount,
okay,
and we're sitting here to make a decision to further fund it to the tune of another $700,000, wouldn't we maybe consider the full $1 million and get what we initially looked at before?
Actually, for clarification purposes, our construction manager, Erickson Hall, just handed me the bid results that were actually opened on December 5th. And at the time, the bids came in at $3.5 million and $3.7. So there was over $1 million.
About a little over $1 million.
Reduction.
I mean, I guess it is what it is at this point, but it just seems like we've lost substantial time, and when we had to go out and put this out to bid again, and we were hoping that by downsizing the overall, reducing the overall size, that we were going to be able to save quite a bit and get within the numbers that we had anticipated in the beginning, and it seems like we really haven't done that. We've lost a lot of the size, we've given up some of the parts of the skate park, but at the end we're saving maybe $350,000.
Well, not necessarily, I guess, in looking at the bid results when we did the first bidding. The lowest one came in at $3.5 million. There is that reduction in which I provided to you, that reduction in the layout as far as the skate park, but as far as the essential elements that the grant requires, and what the community, obviously we've had input from the community as well, as far as the functionality of the skate park, we do have those elements.
So I guess my question, and maybe I'm missing something, or I'm not seeing the total numbers. What is the net difference between what we're about to award as opposed to what the bids came in December? You're saying that they came in at $3.5 million.
That was the lowest.
So $3.5 million, and right now this contract is where?
Basically, it's the actual contract bid to construct, which is from the California skate parks, is $2.2 million. That's their bid. The reason why you see that additional funding request is because we do have, obviously we're still continuing to pay our designer and also our construction manager. There's some fees, as pointed out in the fiscal impact, that are still required. We also need to, as part of a component to this project, we need to provide or set aside $25,000 for an art project that is being done in coordination with the Rainforest Art Project organization and also with the schools. We have to do labor compliance. We're establishing also a 10% construction contingency.
I think the numbers that need to be compared are perhaps those that are contained on agenda item 13.
13.
Which is the actual bid award.
The construction amount then went from the 3.5 to
2.2.
All right, so it's about $1.3 million that we're saving, but that's an excellent point, Mr. Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, because if you have a $3.2 million, you would have had to at least add the 10% contingency. That's another $320,000, plus our construction management fees, the other design fees. So once you add it all up,
it would have been
you come up with a much bigger differential.
So 3.5 wasn't with the contingency?
No, that was just strictly the bid.
But we would have saved some of the money on project management and everything, because we would have been 10 months without paying. I don't know what the difference is. Have we continued to pay for those services for the last 10 months?
We haven't seen any increase. As far as the existing contracts that we haven't seen any increase from either our construction manager or Kimley Horn.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure we weren't just saving
No, I
$300,000 and
understand.
losing
I understand.
15% of our skate park, so, in 10 months. All right. Thank you.
You know, just, Marcelo, I know that these projects can be very interesting and challenging at times, but just in regards to the expended amount, the $409,000, and I know, you know, it's related to construction management services and design. It'd be well, my personal preference would be that if it was itemized, so I can maybe have a better understanding of how much of it is actually going to construction management service, and maybe even defining what miscellaneous costs are. It would be a little bit helpful. I just know that $409,000 to me seems a lot.
Sure.
And it may not be a true representation of what the industry says, but again, it just seems a lot. It just seems excessive.
Basically, the type of costs that we see right now that encompass that $400,000 is basically the design. There's fees that we have paid, you know, that we've paid, obviously, environmental health for fees. We also have done advertisement. There's cost incurred, you know, when you're obviously producing the bid documents. So there's, you know, these costs that start adding up. So I do realize that, you know, that it is a high number at this point, and we haven't started construction. But basically, it's design related and construction management related at this point.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We also purchased the pre-manufactured building, which was $165,000.
Speak into the mic, please.
I'm sorry. We also purchased the pre-manufactured building for the bathroom facility, which was $165,000 that came out of those funds. And construction management-wise, my fee was $7,000 for those 10 months.
That's very helpful.
Sir, could you state your name and professional affiliation for the city clerk's records, please?
Yes, I'm Jim Fisher. I'm with Erickson Hall Construction, and I'm your construction manager for this project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Madam Mayor. Earlier you did the boo-hoo and tears. This is where I want to do the boo-hoo and tears. However, time seems to have evaded into our budgetary amount, and in order to move forward with a project at all, if we didn't do anything today, we possibly would not get anything accomplished. I won't say in my lifetime, but maybe certainly my time on the council. But having said that, I'm quite struck by the fact that the footprint will be reduced by a third, or 33%. That to me is a lot. But I also understand that the proponents of this project, as you remember, we had a lot of young people who were quite interested in a skate park. Those young people believe that this will fit their needs and have all the essential elements in it. And if that is a goal and that can be accomplished, then I would support this.
And we have Ms. Piedra's commitment to actively manage the construction manager.
That's correct.
Perfect. With that, I'd look for...
Just one
Yes, sir.
time frame. What are we looking at in terms of times?
Basically, the contractor has 155 working days to complete the project. So assuming that, you know, we award tonight, and in 30 days we give them the notice to proceed, the project should be done in July of 2015.
So it's about 6 months.
There are actually two action items. We're going to take them separately. The first is a request for additional funding for the El Centro Skate Park project in the amount of $693,000. I have a motion by Silva.
Second.
Second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Second is a approval for waiving of building permit fees. Essentially, as Ms. Piedra explained in her staff report, the city would simply be paying itself for the building fees. So in lieu of that, we're looking for a waiver for the El Centro Skate Park project?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Cardenas, second by Sanders. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. You are being very pricey this evening. We'll move on to agenda item number 13. Will that, you be making that presentation, Ms.
Yes, and basically it's the companion action for the skate park. And in essence, what it is we're requesting approval of a resolution to award the bid and authorizing the execution of the contracts necessary paperwork for the El Centro or skate park project. As recommended in the item, we are recommending that we award this bid for the skate park construction to California Landscape and Design Incorporated, doing business as California Skate Parks. The bids, and of course their bid, has been thoroughly reviewed. We also went through a pre-qualification process of the general contractors and also particularly the specialty skate contractors that are going to be working, or that we're going to be bidding on this project. So the bids have been reviewed, again, with the assistance of our construction manager. As we indicated in the earlier discussion with the other item, we did reduce, in essence, the project approximately 30% to be able to bring it back to a reasonable amount as far as getting the essential elements that we needed per the grant and obviously, more importantly, the community. So we did see that cost savings, again, as discussed. We did see some skate elements be reduced in size, but again, the essential elements of what we're looking for in this project are being incorporated. The bid, or I guess the lowest bid based, and again, you have the bid sheet summary there with you. The lowest bid is from California Skate Parks, and that's in the amount of $2,251,218.68. We are requesting that we establish a contingency fund of $225,122 for this project. The good news is that even though the prime contractor is not a local firm, 5 out of the 6 subcontractors are, and those subcontractors that are local, that have a local business here in our community, are BJ Engineering and Serving, All Valley Fence, Duggins Construction, Tom Watson Electric, and Green Desert Landscaping, which as a city we have worked with these agencies and these businesses. Very excited to see that. We did, as also included in your report, we did see an email copy of a letter that was sent by Geocon, which was the 3rd lowest bidder, with an intent to protest. At this time, I don't believe we have received a formal written protest. However, they do have, if they decide to proceed with the protest, 10 business days after the award of this bid to protest the action. And then finally, there's a component to this project that includes outreaching to our local schools to name this park. We have partnered with, and we have had a meeting with our superintendent from the elementary school district to talk about this outreach, and the effort is being spearheaded by Dan Evers from the Rainforest Art Project. So we are obviously in conjunction working with him to get the kids excited about naming this facility, which is part of what our commitment was to the state when they gave us this money. We will be bringing back that discussion to you, and we'll be following the procedure established in the city's policy number 51, which basically talks about street and facility naming. So that concludes my report related to this project. If there's any questions, I would be more than happy to answer those.
Mr. Jackson?
No questions.
No, other than I was happy to see the number of local subcontractors that were identified on that report. That was very gratifying.
Marcela, in regards just to the due diligence, does the due diligence report come later then, or do we have a due diligence report on California State Parks, or as far as
we actually
missed it, or?
Yes, we actually have we did the due diligence report even before we put it out to bid. We had a pre-qualification process that was done, again, because it's such a specialty to do this type of, particularly the concrete work related to the skating part, so they were pre-qualified.
And have we seen any other projects at all, or is there?
They are a company that, I mean, just specializes in these type of projects, so they're highly qualified. Yes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this will be just the culmination of all of the particular features that will be located in that quadrant, and so I am in support of it. In the quadrant called MLK, MLK Complex or Pavilion.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one quick question, Marcella. You said that the third lowest bidder had talked about a protest. On what grounds were they communicating a possible protest?
You know, what we basically, our understanding is just from that letter that was sent to our city clerk, which is dated October the 10th. They didn't really say that, I mean, or didn't indicate that. All we have is just this letter, and the information was provided by our city clerk to them. And from what I understand, I don't believe they have formally submitted anything to her.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
A follow-up question to Mr. Jackson's question. It's noted here that the bidder must submit a formal written protest prior to the time set for us taking action. So they've done that, and so then what's the mechanics thereafter? If we take action this evening then to award the contract, what happens?
Well, we don't consider that the letter to be a formal bid protest. We're treating that letter more like a public records request. They said they were planning on filing it, but they don't say that this is our formal filing. They say we're planning on filing a bid protest. Please give us these documents that we're requesting. So we treated that as a public records request.
I see. Okay, so the notification of intent to protest bid was not interpreted to be actually a bid protest. So at this time, we've provided them with the documentation in compliance with the Public Records Act request. As of today, they have not filed then an actual bid protest, so we can proceed in essence without there being that uncertainty hanging over the project that there could potentially be a delay, or?
In your approved process, there is another 10-day, the clock of 10 days starts when you take the action. There's 10 more days.
Okay, within 10 business days after the award of the purchasing officer. So that would be, the clock would start ticking today.
Tonight.
10 business days from today.
That's correct.
Okay. If we could keep council updated, if they follow through with that protest, we'd appreciate it.
So
At this time, I'd return to council and look for adoption of resolution number 14-95.
So moved.
100? Holy moly.
Yeah, those.
Resolution, City Council of the City of El Centro awarding the bid and authorizing the execution of a contract for the El Centro Skate Park project. I have a motion by Jackson.
Second.
Second by Cardenas. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you.
Thank you. Very expensive to have Ms. Piedra around. At this time, we do have an item coming out of closed session. A motion to add resolution number 14-101.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Cardenas, second by Jackson to add the item. The added item is a resolution of the City Council of the City of El Centro establishing the compensation and employment terms for the position of city manager.
So moved.
A motion by Silva,
Second.
second by Jackson. All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Mayor, I will be voting in favor based upon the previous conversations we've had in an environment that would certainly give me what I think background and enough information to take action, even though I wasn't present at the meeting.
Very good. Motion carried 5-0.
Yes.
Moving on then to the information items. We do have, as part of the informational items, this was in response to requests from council with regard to follow-up information requested from CR&R, our solid waste hauling contract and operations. That additional information was provided by Mr. Hagan. That information item in particular, I wanted to see if there was any additional council comments.
I have a couple, Madam Mayor, and first of all, I want to thank you, Madam Mayor, for bringing this back 6 months. Also want to thank Mr. Hagan. This is a very comprehensive report, and it appears that you spent a lot of time working on this, and I want to thank you for your efforts. A little disappointed that, and I don't believe anybody from Allied Waste is here, but just in reading your letter, on page 8, just discuss some of the, I guess what I'm trying to comment in is I thought we were clear that we would try. I don't know what I want to say.
What do you want to say? You didn't think you were opening the whole thing up again to an RFP
Right, I
process.
excuse me. Yeah, and but your comments are very thorough, Mr. Hagan. Want to just thank you again for reporting back. Just disappointed no one from Allied's here, and B, that it just wasn't clear what we were just trying to do. But I do want to just encourage that if there's any potential savings in the waste management part of our contract, that we just continue to pursue it. I know that there's 4 other landfills here, and I'm glad that you mentioned that and you included it in your report. But again, just very thankful for your due diligence on this. I also want to thank CR&R for being here as well and educating me on this process. And again, thank our mayor for bringing this back, and I really appreciate it. And thank you very much.
Recognize contributions of Ms. Sanders as well as part
Yes,
of the
absolutely.
original task force. We do have a speaker slip. We do have our representative from CR&R, Dean, is here. Any comments or?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Dean Ruffridge and Dan Druick from CR&R. It's a pleasure to be here tonight, and you know, I was ready. I had a 45-minute presentation here. Do you want to hear it tonight, or would you rather just pass on?
I think we're okay.
I was waiting for Terry's presentation too, because he did a great report. He put a lot of work into it, like Mr. Cardenas just stated. We worked with Mr. Hagan on this and your staff. I think everything's on the table. If there is a way to save any costs, all those things are listed in here. And as you know, this council did save costs to all your ratepayers back in 2012, I think it was, and saved a lot of money actually back in 2006, if I remember right.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of history here. I've been with this, working on this with the city since 2005. So if there are any questions you may have later or in the future, please let me know, and I'll be happy to address them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. At this time, I'd like to move on with we note that there's no scheduled business for either the successor agency to the redevelopment agency or the housing agency. Any additional public comments? No additional public comments. Let's combine the task force, mayor, and council member reports and start with Mr. Jackson.
I've got nothing to say. Thank you.
Is this our last meeting in this building? It is, this is it.
That's the plan.
You might not have heard
So look,
part of it.
Did I miss something?
They did a little touch of painting today.
So I look forward to that.
It'll be done.
I know I can't complain because we have the same chairs, but these chairs are not very comfortable on this side.
That's why our meetings have been so short lately.
Not a lot to report. I did attend the Sister Evelyn Murray ribbon cutting, which is very, very nice. Reminder to the council of a reorganization. That's Wednesday, November 26th or 25th, 26th. 26th.
We'll be there on the
so I look
26th,
forward
so.
to that.
Just real briefly, Madam Mayor, I was able to present a certificate on your behalf at the Buddy Walk at the Buckland Park for the Down Syndrome of Association of Imperial Valley, which was well attended. Large group of folks in terms of bringing awareness and acceptance of people with Down syndrome. So I was blessed and honored to present that on your behalf, Mayor, and I thank you for allowing me that opportunity. In regards to our community foundation, Marcella, I want to thank again for being very supportive and helpful, not only her, but Pat and the city staff. But we have structure in place now, and in fact, we awarded Parks and Recs $1,500 for sports equipment. We will be presenting a check to them, at the grand opening of our sports pavilion. So we have our commissioners who voted in supporting the Parks and Recs Department with $1,500 for new sports equipment. In addition to that, we also gave the city $750 to adopt a couple families during Christmas time as well, that families that attend Washington School. So we are putting this foundation to good work, and we'll be presenting checks here in the next 10 days. So again, thank you to Marcella and staff for helping us out, and to Mr. Duran for some administrative support there as well. So I'm very grateful that we're moving forward with the Community Foundation. Also attended McKinley School Halloween Festival. This wasn't a carnival, it was a festival. And our very own fire chief's wife, who's the principal, Miss Weeks over there, well-respected principal. So they did a Halloween parade. They had about 70% participation in students that were dressed up in Halloween. But the more encouraging number was the fact that they had over 50% of the children's parents there, and watching and participating. And I believe it's a testament to Mrs. Weeks' leadership, and that's our fire chief's wife there. So McKinley School doing an excellent job, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Sanders?
Yes, Madam Mayor, ICTC has been extremely busy. Many of these projects have been long waited for. It's all on I-8. The Dogwood replacement connector expected to begin construction in October, so this is now, and be complete 2016. One of the one of the areas of concern was whether or not this was going to require a shutdown of that overpass for 9 months, and we said, I don't think so. So I'm looking to Mr. Hagan to say, did we get that worked out?
Yes, we had a couple meetings with the contractor in Caltrans, and Dogwood Interchange will remain open.
Okay, very good. Because I said, I thought, you're kidding me. We can't have it. Anyway, I'm glad you got that worked out. Well, yeah. Anyway, the other one is there's 3 projects on I-8 at various locations, some to replace the concrete pavement with long-life pavement. From design to construction, it is expected to end in 2017. So all of this is moving forward with our circulation plan, and certainly to provide easy access on the other side of the freeway, both at Dogwood and Imperial Avenue. So that, in and of itself, leads us to believe that El Centro is truly on the move, no pun intended.
Thank you. I did have the opportunity to participate in a number of the ribbon cuttings, and it's always fantastic to have an opportunity to talk with the business owners and their supporters and staff about why they chose El Centro, and to wish them well. So that was a great opportunity. Also participated in a coin toss at the league championship, or the city championship game between Central and Southwest high schools. And I have got to say that if you like high school football, that game contained everything that you like, with the exception of the one Southwest player that was injured. But other than that, I mean, 2 fantastic bands, the halftime show, the traditional band marching uniforms, the horse that came out and did the lap around the field. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was great. The whole thing was really great. Couple of upcoming events. Want to remind everyone that we have Danny Moss's retirement dinner on the 15th of November. Hope those of you that are able to attend have RSVP'd. A week from Thursday, I will be attending a meeting between San Diego Association of Governments, so SANDAG, and SCAG, Southern California Association of Governments, will be meeting to talk about all kinds of projects and different things between those two metropolitan planning organizations. I'm going to put on the agenda, start a bidding war for Imperial County and see if SCAG wants to keep us, or perhaps we move over to San Diego. Don't know yet.
Well, as the incoming president, you're going to stop.
Well, I'm just saying, we got to look out what's best for us. So we'll see how that goes. I did want to ask our 2 league representatives, Mr. Silva and Ms. Sanders. We've passed by our October meeting date, and I didn't see a new date offered.
I'll follow up on that. I don't know.
And part of the dilemma is this November is, of course, on the 12th, we'll be in Sacramento for the State League Board and League Leaders meeting. The week of the 18th, I'll be in Austin, Texas. So therein lies part of the dilemma as it relates to Catherine Hill scheduling.
So we
So we
missed
may do it
October,
Christmas.
So it might be January.
Right.
Might be January.
All right, well, I think it's always helpful if we get that whole league list
Right.
early, Mr. President.
Okay.
She's
So,
on that.
well, homework for Mr. Silva. Anything else at this time?
Yes, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
one final thing. On December 2nd, Kanat will be here in El Centro to present the award for Hill City's campaign. And so he will be here at 6 o'clock. We'll make it prompt. Mr. Silva assured me that he will have him at the first of the list. It will be prompt so that we could have that done and out of the way so that we could do with our regular meeting.
Make sure, Ms. Caldwell, that we have nothing but really, really healthy snacks. Hide the soda pop machine, and we'll be good to go. That is such an honor, Ms. Sanders. We're
Thank
so
you.
excited
Thank
to
you.
have that
Thank you.
here in
Yes.
We'll
December.
on that day, we will have carrot sticks and no
Carrots.
candy.
There we go. All right, I just wanted to say goodnight to the best staff anyone could ever hope to have, ever. Thank you very much for your attendance and all that you do.
And you won't be here next time.